Nobody gets promoted by accident. I know that sounds obvious, but here's what's not obvious. The people moving up at work usually aren't the loudest ones in the room. They're not the ones sending the most emails or staying latest at the office just to be seen. They're doing something else entirely. And for the longest time, most people don't even know what that something else is. They work hard, they show up, they do what they're asked, and then they watch someone else, sometimes someone they trained, walk into a role they wanted. That's one of the most frustrating things that can happen in a career. And if it's happened to you, it doesn't mean you weren't good enough. It usually means nobody told you the rules you were actually being judged by. This video is about those rules. 10 specific moves that smart employees make, not to impress anyone, not to play politics, but because these things actually work. And they work quietly, over time, without drama. Stay until the end, because move number 7 is the one most people never figure out. And it's probably the single biggest separator between people who feel stuck and people who keep moving. Here's a trap a lot of hardworking people fall into. They do excellent work, and then they assume that someone will notice. A manager, a director, someone. And sometimes they will. But most of the time, your manager is dealing with 15 other things. And your great work sits quietly in a folder that nobody opens. Smart employees don't brag, but they do communicate. There's a difference. Sending a short recap after finishing a project. Mentioning in a team meeting what you learned from a challenge. Sharing a small win in a way that helps the team. Not to show off, but to keep the right people informed. That's visible, that's professional. And over months and years, it builds a reputation without you ever having to announce it. There's a version of you that does the job, and then there's a version of you that understands the business. Those are not the same thing. And the second version is the one that gets taken seriously. In rooms the first version never even gets invited to. Smart employees spend time understanding how their company actually makes money, what the priorities are, what the pressure points are, what keeps leadership up at night. And when they speak in meetings, they connect their work to those things, not in a fake, aligning with company values way, but in a real, practical way that makes the people above them think this person gets it. Most people build relationships only within their team, and that's fine. But it also means when opportunities come up, they're invisible to the people making those decisions. But it also means when opportunities come up, they're invisible to the people making those decisions. A new project, a cross-functional team, a role that opened up in a different part of the business. Smart employees make a habit of knowing at least a few people outside their immediate team, not networking in the formal, awkward business card way. Just being genuinely curious about what other teams do. Asking questions when someone from another department crosses their path. Grabbing coffee with a colleague from finance or operations once in a while. Not for any agenda. Just because the more people who know you're capable, the more doors quietly open. Every workplace has two kinds of employees. The ones who wait to be told what to do, and the ones who see something that needs doing and just handle it. I'm not talking about overstepping or taking on things that aren't yours. I'm talking about noticing a gap, a process that wastes time, a question that comes up repeatedly, a small problem that annoys everyone, and either fixing it quietly or bringing a proposed solution to the right person. That is the single clearest signal to a manager that someone is ready for more responsibility, not working longer hours, not being louder, just demonstrating quietly and repeatedly that you see things other people miss, and that you do something about it. Most people only hear feedback twice a year. During the formal review, that's too late. By the time your annual review happens, whatever you're being evaluated on has already been decided. The impression is already formed. The box is already checked. Smart employees ask for feedback regularly, not constantly. That becomes annoying. But a short, specific ask once every few weeks or once a month. Is there one thing I could have handled differently on that project? What would make my work more useful to you right now? That kind of question tells your manager you care about improving. It gives you real usable information. And it keeps you on their mental radar in a positive way. Because most employees never ask. You can schedule every hour of your day. and still produce mediocre work if your brain is running on empty. Smart employees figure out when they do their best thinking. For most people, it's the first 2 to 3 hours of the day, and they protect that time fiercely. They don't book meetings during that window if they can help it. They don't scroll their phone for 30 minutes before starting work. They treat their best mental hours the way a professional athlete treats their body, as the most valuable resource they have. And over months of working that way, they produce noticeably better output than colleagues who spend the same number of hours but never guard when they use them. This is the one that separates more careers than almost anything else. The world is full of people with good intentions. People who say yes in the meeting and then quietly let things slip. People who respond to an email with, "I'll get this to you by Thursday." And then Thursday comes and goes and nothing happens. Nobody does this maliciously. Life gets busy. Priorities shift. Things fall through the cracks. But here's the thing. Every single time this happens, a tiny bit of trust gets chipped away. Smart employees make following through their signature trait. Not perfectly. Nobody's perfect. But consistently enough that people around them start to notice. If she said she'll do it, it's done. That 4-word reputation is worth more than any title on a business card. Every workplace has friction. Two people who disagree on how something should be done. A miscommunication that becomes resentment. A conversation that needed to happen 6 months ago and never did, which damages the relationship. Or avoiding, which lets the problem fester and grow into something much bigger. Smart employees do neither. They address the issue early, directly, and without drama. Not an email, not a message that can be misread. A real conversation. Even a short one that says, "I think there might be a miscommunication here. Can we clear it up?" That skill is rarer than most people think, and managers notice it. Because the alternative is one of the most common ways workplaces break down. A lot of people try to improve everything at once. They sign up for 3 courses, start reading 4 books, decide they're going to learn a new skill, work on their public speaking, and fix their time management. All in the same month. By month 2, they're doing none of it. Smart employees pick one skill, the one that would make the biggest difference in their current role, or the role they want next, and they get noticeably better at just that one thing over the next 3 to 6 months. Then they pick the next one. That compounding of focus skill building, done quietly over years, is how you end up genuinely excellent at your work, not just busy. This last one sounds philosophical. Bear with me. Most people evaluate their career by what they're currently doing. The tasks, the salary, the title. Those things matter. But the people who build careers they're actually proud of also pay attention to who they're slowly becoming. Are they becoming more patient? More decisive? Are they learning to lead even without a leadership title? Are they building a way of thinking that travels with them regardless of where they work? The smartest employees I've ever seen think about their career as something they're building, slowly, deliberately, rather than something that's happening to them. And that shift in perspective changes every small decision they make, from which problems they choose to take on, to how they treat the people around them. So, 10 moves, none of them flashy. None of them require you to pretend to be someone you're not. Making your work visible. Learning how the business actually works. Building real relationships outside your team. Solving problems before you're asked. Asking for feedback without waiting for the review. Protecting your best mental hours. Following through every single time. Handling conflict like an adult. Focusing on one skill at a time. And staying aware of who you're becoming, not just what you're doing. None of this is secret. None of it is complicated. But the honest truth is that most people know these things and still don't do them consistently. And that gap between knowing and actually doing is where careers either grow or stay exactly where they are. The good news is that starting on even one of these today, just one, puts you ahead of where you were this morning. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Out of these 10 moves, which one do you think you're already doing well? And which one do you know, honestly, you've been avoiding? Drop both in the comments. Not because I'm going to judge you. Mine is a streaming subscription I haven't opened in 8 months, and I still haven't canceled it. So trust me, none of us are perfect here. But because saying it out loud is usually the first step that actually makes people follow through. So go ahead, scroll down, and drop your answer. I read every comment, and I genuinely love to know. Thanks for watching the whole way through. That tells me you actually care about this stuff. And that's exactly the kind of person who makes moves like these work.